This episode of the Better Every Shift podcast is brought to you by Lexipol, the experts in policy, training, wellness support, and grants assistance for first responders and government leaders. To learn more, visit lexipol.com. That's LEXIPOL.com. Now let's get into the show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Better Every Shift podcast. My name is Aaron Zamzow. There is Janelle Fusquette. And hi, Janelle. Sorry. How are you today?
Good.
Good. We are already laughing and smiling because you could probably already see we have Jason Patton with us.
Hello.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
We already used most of our best material behind the scenes, and Janelle is kind of angered that I always do this. We have great conversations, so we're going to try to bring it to you. Let me just introduce Jason real quick. If you don't know who he is, you've probably been under a rock because his stuff is everywhere. He is on my walls, as a matter of fact. We were just chuckling about that a little bit. He's a career firefighter paramedic for Riviera Beach. He is the creator of Fire Department Chronicles, which is a very popular series on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. He's also the vice president, got connected with Fire Department Coffee, which is a veteran-owned company run by firefighters. He supports and serves as the voice for and an advocate for many, many groups that benefit firefighter charities and health and wellness. And we're going to call him the modern era fire service influencer, the first. You'll take that, right? Or I just said Gary.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure, Aaron. Thanks, dude.
Yes. Well, I told you, we've been smiling ever since you got on. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
It must be my birthday, right, Janelle? Because you booked Jason for my birthday.
Is it your birthday?
It is my birthday.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah. This is a great gift. Yeah. What's that?
You want to take my clothes off? Is that what
yes, that would be great. I mean, well,
we'll do it at the end. We got to keep
it was behind the scenes. We were talking about
once
that,
I take
right?
my shirt off, no one's watching this anymore. That's it.
Well, and we got into a lot of great conversation. You're still active. You just got to do like your first kind of, should we say, Hollywood type video, like actual production?
It was the largest production that I've personally been on for a commercial shoot. Yeah, it was very cool. And it obviously benefited incredible things to the fire service as well.
Did you ever think from where you started, I think you said you started Fire Department Chronicles in 2015. Mm-hmm. Why did you start that? And did you ever think you'd be here?
The answer is no. Not in a million years would I have ever thought I would have got here. It started just, I've said a million times that I'm not special. There's one of me in every fire department, every EMS station across the world. Someone that's cracking jokes or playing, messing around with the other guys or videoing something stupid, that kind of thing. So I got very lucky. I had the right chief at the right time with the right amount of patience, lot of patience when it's but it was just, we were literally just messing around the station. The first video we did was making fun of a battalion chief. We did like National Geographic's Fire Department edition and kind of like hunting for different positions. And the one that we were first hunting for was the battalion chief. We said the bigger their belly, the more gnarly they are. I don't know what your battalion chiefs look like, but that was ours at the time. And he actually went along with it really well. It was really fun. And then we did the firefighter, but the one that kind of moved me up a little bit more and kind of put me on the map slightly, and at least in the EMS world, was we hunted for the paramedic via their natural mating call, which is bitching. And I loved it, dude. And every time someone's like, man, I can't believe you make fun of people. I'm like, I'm not making fun of people. I'm making fun of myself. Like, that is me. I was the one bitching and moaning or doing whatever. It's literally about the people I work with, but a lot of times making fun of myself.
So is the Maniac one, is that you working out? Are you like...
Dude, that video was my battalion chief at the time made me put that bike together. It was a present for like his daughter. And he's like, Patton, go put this together. I'm like, it's 9:00 at night. And he's like, and go put it together. I'm like, nah. So I put it together and I was like, we're making a video. And it started, that was the first video I ever got 1 million views on. It was really funny.
So was that like the breakout video?
That was the paramedic one was kind of that got me on the map with EMS and firefighters and stuff. And then the bicycle, I couldn't recreate what that did if I tried today with my exact followers. So I couldn't tell you what happened there. It was a freak accident.
And if anybody hasn't seen that yet, I'm kind of a fitness guy. And so it's this, I don't even, it's like this old bike, recumbent
Yeah.
bike. It's like,
Uh-huh.
and you're just going to town on this at different places all over the firehouse to this song. And
Zero sense to it. Like I couldn't tell you why. I
right,
know everyone watching that was like, "What is happening right
yeah,
now?"
but they kept watching it. That's the funny part about it, right? And so that, I mean, that propelled you. You had a couple of you obviously you've had hits and misses, right? Like as
Oh
you've
yeah.
done this,
Oh yeah.
as you kept going with this, what drives you? How do you keep coming up with this stuff?
I love it, man. I love making videos, dude. I think it's there is just something to be able to find humor in the job that we have. I mean, the calls that we run all the time, the things that we see, like there is just, and even just walking down the street and just human life, like you have to find humor in some way, shape, or form because I mean, God, it just seems like the world's falling apart on a daily basis. So if you can find something to laugh at, man, you're gonna have a much better life.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, this my entire everything that I've ever created with these videos has just been about finding some humor in all the stuff that we see all the time. The hardest I've ever laughed like on a call was the lady that called me for dry hands. Like we transported a lady to the hospital because she wanted lotion, and like we had a great time going to the hospital. She and I were laughing the whole. I'm like, you know, I'm bringing you to the hospital for lotion. She's like, I know, I love it. And I'm like, me too, man. This is awesome. So like, it is what it is. We can't turn people down, so might as well have a good time with it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and you're right. I think you have a great attitude. You have to find
Thank you.
laughter in that, or else you're going to cry, or it's going to get,
A lot.
or you're going to get salty, right? Like
Yes.
that's
Yes.
the other
Yeah.
alternative to it.
And I think
What's
there
the
is that
what,
curve. There is that curve. You see it. And
Yeah,
most people will say like, first like 1 to 5 years, you're super ready to go. Let's go. And then like 5 to 10, you start to get burnt because it's just a lot all the time. And then 5 to 15 is kind of, or 10 to 15 is finding yourself, and then you're just holding on for the rest of your career at that point. Hope to God you make it to retirement. So that's
yeah.
for people, it's that way.
what's your favorite video that you recorded? Is
Oh man.
that like picking a favorite child?
Yeah, yeah. Every time I make a video, or every time I move into a new genre of videos, I find like my new fun one. When I first started doing the green screening videos, I loved doing that. I just loved picking apart those shows because they're a necessary evil within our business. But also I love picking them apart. But honestly, I would say Q or the first Murphy's Law. That was probably one of my favorite ones that I made just because it was so relatable to everybody. Find it. You got Q in there, that kind of thing. But recently, I would say it's the real calls that I've ran because these are just true stories that I've been on. The one where the guy was the person was pouring urine into their own eyes to get rid of their pink eye. I was like, this is just you can't make this
Oh,
stuff up, man. I loved it. It's just
yeah.
and I'm telling you, I had a guy come up to me at the airport yesterday or 2 days ago when I was in the airport. He goes, "Are people really? I think like, do you think people are dumb?" I'm like, "No, I think that emergencies are different for people. Like, so one person thinks it's an emergency, another person doesn't, and everyone deserves the appropriate treatment. So we'll bring them to the hospital." And I would love to say that I've never done something stupid in my lifetime that would have gotten me in those positions, but I would be a bold-faced liar, like jumping off of a wall when I was 10 to try to jump over something and landed in thorn bushes and was completely covered in thorn. Just normal kid stuff,
Yeah.
I guess.
There wasn't a cell phone around to video it back then. That's the
I'm
difference,
telling you,
right?
yeah,
Like, now you'd find yourself on a show, on
yes,
MTV or something like that. And that's why we all find out about it, which is
yeah,
great
yeah.
because it provides material for you and I, to laugh about and Janelle, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah. And one thing though, I want to switch it. So you're having fun with this, but then you realized, hey, there was that point you're like, I got a million views on this. Was there something that said in you, or is it just who you are? I can actually start to make an impact,
Mhm.
more of a positive way than just laughter, right? When did you all of a sudden start to get the philanthropic kind of bug?
I've always been a person that just loved helping other people in general, whether it is through my job or just helping someone. Y- uh, every once in a while, like I'll go into a grocery store and I'll see someone like going to pay, and I'll look. It looks like they're like kind of going through their cash, like, oh crap, and I'll just pay their bill or whatever. A lady the other day, she came in and she had run out to get her wallet. She was trying to find her wallet, and I just paid for her food while she was gone. Like, I think I think that kind of stuff is what truly makes the world kind of move a little bit better. And people appreciate that because those are the moments in people's lives, whether it's $5 or $500, they remember that. That was the time when someone actually did something nice for them. And people have done extremely nice things for me as well. I've been in restaurants eating and people have paid for my food, when I was in uniform. And I'm like, that's an incredible thing. So I think it all came together. It was a natural progression with the videos. Guys, right, probably about 8 months into making videos, guys reaching out like, man, we had a really bad call. We were kind of we were stuck in a gray space or whatever, and we couldn't really get out of it. And then we watched the video, just happened to be yours. We laughed. We were able to kind of pull ourselves out of that moment and then talk about what we needed to talk about with the bad call we were just on. So some of it just goes hand in hand, and it happens to work perfectly with each other. But I truly love, man, I love helping people get help because I've needed it at some point in time. So it's it's nice to be able to kind of give that back.
Yeah. And for those that think that any of this is an act, by the way, I saw you at a major conference, and you, I'll give you a ton of credit. You talk to everybody. Like, you actually talked to me. We've met before, but I mean, just watching you interact with people, like you had questions for them, and there was like not enough time of the day for you. And I appreciate that. And I think that's probably why you're partially very successful, and thank you for that. And don't lose that. Number
No,
one.
no.
Number two,
No,
it's
I'm
what
telling you,
drives
man.
you.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, dude, because I like to, I love talking to people, man. It's really fun because you learn some of the most incredible stories when you talk to people, especially firefighters and EMS. Like FDIC is a whirlwind from the second I get there to the second I leave, but I genuinely want to sit there and talk to people because I love hearing what people have to say. And I tell you, the most humbling thing I've ever experienced in my life. Recently, the Dennis Leary, the Leary Firefighters Foundation
Yep.
featured me. And that is like that's the one. Those are moments where you're like, all right, let's see if people like me or not, because you find out real fast. And it was like, I was blown away. Like, people genuinely had great stuff. And I was like, that's cool, man. I'm glad I made a positive impact on people because it definitely could have went the opposite way. So I'm super
I
happy.
think I saw your post and it's like, Mom, I made it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
So
awesome.
so what do you?
When you think about like we kind of joked earlier about like being like the first fire service influencer, right, in this like modern era, but who influenced you? Like, who pre YouTube and things going viral, who were the names who really stuck out to you and had an impact on your career?
I for firefighting, I'm first generation firefighter. I just through happenstance, someone told me about EMT school, which down here you got to be an EMT or a medic to, at least to get hired as a firefighter. So I just walked into it. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I love learning about the human body and then the way fire works, and just this business in general was really cool. On the comedic side, my brothers have just been so funny to me, and I love both of them. They're my middle brother has kind of a flary kind of what do you call it? Like, he's very matter of fact with his jokes. And my youngest brother has one of the driest sense of humors I've ever met. But let me tell you, this guy throws out a joke and it's in the most like odd moment, but it is perfect, and you die laughing every time. And I really loved it. But comedians, I've always appreciated like dry, fun, clean humor. I do love like really raunchy humor. That's, if you ever meet me in person, you'll see I curse a lot. But on videos, I never do it. But I love like cool, dry, like education, like almost like educated humor. It's like you got to take a second and think about it and be like, all right, that was good. So like that was a Dane Cook. I know he not a lot of people love him, but
I remember him. Yep.
Told stories, man. I thought it was so cool. I love Kevin Hart. I always thought was hysterical for me. Dennis Leary. I love Dennis Leary. Everything that he did, I thought was really cool. And then I grew up. That's my dog freaking out about something. But and then God, I can't. Adam Sandler. Like, I loved Adam Sandler. Like his stand-ups and stuff. I thought it was good. Hold on. I know we're live, but let me go stop him. So,
Oh,
can you say hi? Can you say hi? Say yes.
Oh, that's so cute.
yeah. So that's your relief, right? Like, that's you laugh probably, and I watched some of your stuff, and part of this is our way of coping, right, with what we see, and so comedy is a way that you cope. giving back is a way we cope, right?
Mhm.
Obviously,
Right.
dog. You know what?
Yeah.
What else do you do to unwind and to cope? And now your life's a lot more stressful because you have a business side of it. So, how do you stay whole? Like, what do you do?
Man, I got to tell you, one of the biggest lessons I had to learn in life is everything cannot be 0 or 100. You have to find moderation. Like, even if it's 30 seconds of like whatever it is, just looking at your phone and enjoying something, or putting your phone down, like taking 5 minutes for you when you wake up in the morning, not grabbing your phone. I love working out. I would say that's my number one stress reliever. I just feel good. I'm happy. I'm more happy throughout the day if I feel like I'm getting into a decent shape. Or obviously the stress relieving, even if it's 20 minutes. 20 minutes is actually my average workout these days, because that's what my schedule allows, and
Mhm.
I enjoy it, and it's fun.
Plus,
But
you're a maniac anyway, so you're just going right.
pretty much, dude,
You're
it's
just going
20.
hard.
I
Burn
just
Yeah.
that's just
2,000 calories in 5 minutes.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, exercise, trying to kind of unwind through watching movies or whatever it is. But a lot of it is, for me, it's microdosing of happiness throughout the day, and that's kind of what makes me happy. Some people need like full vacations where they can leave for a week, and I would love that maybe later in life, but right now my schedule or mindset just doesn't allow that. So if I get like 10 minutes to sit down and eat a burrito and just think about life and whatever, then that's what I'll do. So
Take a couple deep breaths,
take a
right?
couple deep,
Just
yeah,
you know, do you,
you got it,
do you
man. You got
yeah.
it.
Even in the firehouse, do you take time just to go, you know, be alone, or how do you handle that when you're on shift?
If I have to, yeah, I will. I got to tell you, man, naps. Dude, if you naps, man, I love naps, bro. And if you can take a nap, do it. It's like,
Mhm.
it's for some reason it's just been so frowned upon. Sleep has been so frowned upon, and some people can function off of 5 hours of sleep. And if you can do that, let's go, man. Like all day, you're awesome. I'm not that type of person. Like I need to rest. My brain needs some sleep. So sometimes I'll lay down to a 30-minute speed nap, or I'll do an hour nap if I'm able to do it. And I love that, man. I'll get away from everybody and then back in it. But the unique thing about the firehouse, and I think most of us are like this, we got into the business to save lives, but we truly stay for like the brotherhood and sisterhood that you
Oh
get.
yeah.
Because I've like almost peed myself laughing sitting at the fire station, like hanging out around the table, finished eating dinner. We're telling story. I love glory stories, man. They are my favorite things in the world, just to hear people
Yeah.
tell stories. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and you talk about glory stories. It's funny now because like you get that old chief. Well, that fire that was four and a
Mhm.
half days, and then in the corner you got some young kid being like, "Hey, chief, that was like that was not like here's a picture of it. It's like a house fire. Like you guys had it out in 2 days,
Instant
2 hours.
fact-checking.
Right?
Yeah.
There's fact checking and do you hear
Mhm.
this all the time too? I bet like, well, don't ruin a good story with the truth, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it, man. But the best is you'll watch one guy tell a story. There's a guy sitting next to him going,
that's
"That's
not how. Yeah.
not a single bit of that happened, man." Actually, I had a guy telling a story once. What it's again like to watch this unfold was like I'll remember this for the rest of my life. A guy telling this story. He was just on this call, literally just left the call. Comes back and he's like, we were breaking the walls down, taking this, and the battalion chief said, "You can't do that." And I said, "Yes, I will." And like as he's saying that, she's walking through the back door behind him, and she's like, "That didn't happen." And he's like, We're like, yes.
Yes, yes.
So
Tell
good.
us, tell us. It's on
Yes.
now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
good.
And that's part of it. Like that's part of your material, isn't it? Like that's how you like
Mhm.
you have this knack to look around and go, "Oh my god, that's material. That's
Oh
material."
yeah.
Right? Like then what do you
Oh,
do once you see something? How do you develop it into the video? What's the next step for you?
what I tend to try to do is because you can tell a story. What I always try to do is make sure that people understand, because we always have empathy, no matter what is going on in our brains and how we're remembering what's happening. We have empathy for people. So sometimes to tell a comedic story about something that was happening to someone can be difficult if it just comes out the way that it went. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
so, like I want to make sure that people always understands like what exactly was happening. So if I see something or we're on a really fun call and things are going on, then a lot of times I'll hopefully be able to remember exactly what happened. I kind of run it through a PC filter, make sure it doesn't, nothing bad's coming out. Then I'll come back, write a rough script of what the verbiage I want to use, and then film it. And then comes the fun editing piece of it. But yeah, I got a guy compliment me about 2 weeks ago, and I thought it was a really cool compliment. He was asking me to write a movie for like a fun firefighter comedic movie. And he goes, "You have a really good way of showing that sometimes people can do stupid things, but there's always empathy coming from the fire service and the EMS service." I was like, "That's because that's the way it really is. No matter
Yeah.
how it comes across, we're always there." I personally have never seen like a firefighter or EMS personnel be like, "What the F is wrong with you?" Or like, "Okay, let's go." So
Yeah, yeah. It happens, but I think there's a lot of underlying things, and we can get,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
um, you had mentioned too, like between 5 and 10, and do you see this too? That you can almost go one of two ways. You can either get to that salty, like I'm just going to do the bare minimum, or
Mm,
for you, you seem to go the opposite direction, where you're like, hey, I'm here to even give more, and here's a way.
mm.
Like, what's the difference, man? How did that come? Like, we tried to touch on it, but like, there's got to be something in you there, or something that like. And what would you tell someone who's in that 5 or 10 years that's kind of on that cusp? What would you tell them?
You know, I mean, I would be a full-on liar if I said that I didn't have like a couple of years where I was like, "What is happening, bro?" Like I was,
Okay.
you just go to you've lost some drive for the job, or maybe you're burnt out. I went through just a rough like 2 to 3 years where I had some home life stuff going on that was really hard. And I was bringing that into work because anyone who says leave home at home and work at work, they don't actually understand how your brain works, and they're just saying stuff because they want to say it. But so unfortunately I was kind of interlacing the two, which happens. But what I found was that I was at a really fast station for a long period of time, and I got stuck with a really bad crew. So like it wasn't a good crew that I was running calls with. It was people that didn't like to be at the job. So that
Mm,
eventually it'll meld into eventually. So a lot of times what I tell people is, if you're getting into that 5 to 10 year period, because your first 5 years is you trying to really seat yourself in the fire service or EMS or whatever your department is. And then you're trying to like gain relationships with the brothers and sisters that you're working with. And then eventually you find the people that you kind of like work with well, and reevaluate what's happening. Are you working with them well because they're good for you and they're actually
mm,
encouraging you to train and they're encouraging you to be a good firefighter or EMS personnel? Or are you just now part of them and it's a toxic environment where you now just complain as much as they do, that kind of thing?
yeah.
So you know yes, the job will burn you out. Right now we are on a mandatory like spree, like you're almost guaranteed to work an extra shift,
Oof.
like 48 hours. Some of our captains are working 48 24s right now, like that, because
Oh
they're
my god.
mandatory every single shift. So reevaluate what's going on, man. What can you do to change like the jobs? Should you reinvest more? Should you go to more classes? Find the fun and the passion, the things that you actually enjoy. Should you, if you're on a company where you can do truck or engine, should you go to a truck company or should you go to an engine company? That's, I think, kind of just like sometimes changing things, man. Instead of waking up at 7, wake up at 7:15. Maybe it'll change up your day a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Try something, make it more positive, and try to find, like you're saying, change your environment. If your environment's what's getting you down the toilet bowl,
Yeah.
change your environment, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, I
that's the
think
cool
this
part of what's that?
Oh, I
I'm
was just
sorry.
say real quick, there's a distinction there between what you can control and what's outside of your control. And figuring out that balance is a huge part of it, I think, early on. Because if you can affect yourself, yeah, you can make these little micro changes, but then recognizing, oh man, there's something totally outside of me. I don't have control over that.
Yeah.
And that's a bigger question. That's trickier because that means, are you going to change departments? Is
Mhm.
it, trying to get a promotion? There's so many other things. It still comes back to some of your own control, but I, I think that's where a lot of anger can come in, is when people haven't taken the time to recognize what's within their control and what's outside of their control.
Yeah, and I tell you that is a very relieving thing when you can stop for a second and say, this is completely out of my control. I can't do anything about this. And that kind of hopefully gives yourself permission to kind of be like, well, I can't do that. Maybe I can reinvest in this a little bit more. And man, that mentally, that's huge. And the promotion thing was really big for me. You have to be on the ambulance your entire career at my fire department unless you can promote and promote to the engine. And I love EMS. I make fun of it a lot because it's just easy to make fun of, but I love the calls.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of targets there. Yes.
A lot of targets, man.
A lot of targets.
But I love it. Like, it's fun. It's exciting. It's like, you get your brain working. Like, it's really, really cool. But when you're on that box and it's every single shift, 5 after midnight, you're never sleeping. And our engines run with our medic units. So I'm still running all the calls with them, but it was just something different. I showed up to something different now. Now I drove an engine to EMS calls, but I got to pump fires and have fun. So it was just something different. Sometimes changes in routines huge changes in your brain.
Yeah. It's all about trying to elevate your passion, right? Trying to find a new passion.
Yeah.
Or figure that out. Like, it's okay to not have one, but
yeah.
when you start going down the toilet bowl, you got to figure out how to get back out and find that direction. So, with that in mind though, what's driving your passion right now? I mean, obviously you have, fire department coffee, you got the Chronicles, but you also, you work with a lot of great organizations. What fuels that, and how do you decide who you want to work with?
I've always been very, very selective of who I work with, and not because I'm better than anybody. That's definitely not it. It's just, I understand that if I vet too many things, then whatever I'm vetting doesn't mean anything. That's kind of what I've always looked at. So Detect Together was a huge thing for me. They approached me actually when I was up in Massachusetts. I work with something called the Heroes Cup. It's a huge hockey tournament that comes together. So it's an absolute blast. And I got introduced to them up there. They told me what they were doing. I thought it was very cool. And the next time I talked to them, they're like, hey, we have a huge backing of, federal government. We also have, like FEMA, stuff like that. And then we also have all these firefighting communities coming together. So I got a really cool opportunity to work with them. And it's real firefighter lingo, how to make sure you're not going to die of cancer like that. I mean, there's a sign behind you that says, check your poop. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yes, right.
There's one that says, I think you hang it above your urinal. It says, you're already touching your balls. You might as well make sure they're even. Like, I love that. That's so perfect because that's what firefighters got to hear, man,
Right.
And I just
kind of matches your comedy style too.
Exactly.
I mean, right. Like, nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
No. And I think that's where people in general, when it comes to serious information, they've misconstrued the concept of comedy. Like, you can say something funny, but it still be like nice or still be appropriate for the time. I mean, I've created CPR videos that are full entertainment and it's all appropriate. You can play it anywhere. Every video I put up is PG-13. You can play it anywhere you want and no one's getting offended. I mean, unless they want to get offended, but you can do it, man. And that's what they did with Detect Together. And then, Banyan Treatment Centers, I worked with them for a while. They're incredible. A bunch of different facilities across the United States. I work with these places because those things have affected me at some point. My dad died of cancer. I had some mental health issues at one point in time. And look, everything, just because you are somewhere at some point in time does not mean you're going to remain there. You just change something and then you'll go past that. So it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever get the old, well, this is easy for you to say, look at you, you're able to do all these different things. Now I do have a little background story on you. The first time you ever spoke, you want to tell that story about how far you've come and you've grown, right? But people I think a lot of times they probably see you and you're like, oh, this comes natural to him.
No, it does not. Nothing has come natural to me at all. The only thing that's natural to me is I'm bald. I have to shave my Actually, I don't know which one you're talking about, but the first time I ever spoke in public was when I started teaching CPR. So is this okay? So first time my buddy's like, hey, because when I first started fire service, we made $0. It was really bad. And I had to get a second job like most of us. And I go to teach CPR and it's my first class. I've watched 5 other classes. And the other instructor that I'm teaching with leaves and says, go ahead and start the class. I'll come in a few minutes. I was like, okay, cool. And I went up there and I spoke for a grand total of 3 minutes and I almost passed out. Like it was bad. I specifically remember like stuttering, like about so you push on their chest. I gotta go get the other instructor. That was it. That was the entirety of it. And I called my mom. I called my mom, and I said, "Mommy," no. I said, "Ma, I don't think I can do this." There's like this is after like maybe I'm driving home. Like, "Ma, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't know what to do." And she said the best advice to me ever. My mom's not a teacher. My mom is horrible at public speaking, or at least she said that. And she's like, "Just remember this: when you're speaking in front of people, as far as they know, you are the expert on that subject. It's like you could say anything and they will believe 100% of it." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're right." And that was it. And now I own a comedy CPR company. And that's it, man. Do I still get nervous? 100%. But
Yeah.
people do. It's natural. But no, it does not. Nothing comes natural to me in any way, shape, or form. So.
Well, thank God you got over that fear, because I think there's quite a few of us laughing and enjoying your,
Thank God,
you know,
yes.
right? Like it's that's awesome. That's a
Thank
great
you.
story. I think it's something that we can all kind of, take and put in our pockets. Say, all right, if this guy is able to do it,
Yeah.
um,
Gosh.
yeah. So we do this thing called hot seat questions here, and I think this is a perfect time. And Janelle and I come up with these questions, because we do a little background, and we don't. They're just random. This is what I want to know, and quick answers. We're gonna put you on the spot, put you on the hot seat.
Okay.
Janelle's got the first one because she loves these questions, because she's like, "Oh, this is what I want to know." So, you ready? Here we go.
I'm ready. You ready, Jason?
Let's go.
Okay. All right. When was the last time you were super frustrated with somebody, and how'd you deal with it?
Yesterday.
Details.
Actually,
Details.
so my amazing wife filled out CPR cards for me, and while I was gone, loved it. But she filled out the wrong CPR cards, which cost me $250, and I was very upset at the moment, very upset. But I said, she tried. It is what it is. It's a cost of doing business. I like being married. And then I ordered more cards. So,
Yes, yeah. A
That's
divorce
a good
is
decision
much more.
making and
Yeah,
thought process there. Working through it.
a divorce is much more. Much more.
Yeah.
Divorce will cost more than $250.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she legitimately was doing a great job. It was more my fault than hers. I should have told her which ones, but it is what it is. So
Can comic relief help in the relationship?
yes. Or any comedy relief in anything can help. It's got to be appropriately timed, like not like directly in the middle of an argument. That's how you get stabbed.
So name a time where it was not planned and timed perfectly.
Oh my God. I can't even think. That's a hard one, man. I can't even think about that. Yeah, no, I can't think of one, man. You got me, Aaron.
I got him.
I mean, I've used comedy in like situations where, but I can't tell the jokes.
Yeah. You've
I
told the
imagine
wrong joke.
your wife occasionally being like, "Read the room," like not now, right?
Yeah, right.
Oh no, many times I've told a joke and been like, shit, and like it's just not good.
And that's one of the things, like at the fire service, when you're if that was at the firehouse, it probably would have just been awesome. But then when you get out in real life, there's a lot of times things that we see funny, we say it. And Janelle and I have this conversation a lot. She's like, that's a firehouse kind of humor thing. And I've had to, one of the hard parts of the podcast is like, all right, we're in the firehouse kind of, but we're not. And you're like, right. So you tell a joke and you look around, there's crickets because you're like, oh shoot, I'm not in the firehouse anymore.
Yeah.
So,
no, you got to be. And that's what I've always told people. People are like, hey, any advice for people that are getting into the social media game, that kind of stuff? I was like, you're not in the firehouse. That is the best piece of advice I'll ever give you. You're not in the firehouse. And remember that, because it's going to end badly.
Yep. So I just came up with that one right away for the hot seat. So I got a point for that. But my real question is, and next time I see you at one of these conferences, this is gonna fit in. So what's your walk-up song?
Ooh, my walk-up song. Oh man. I I love I don't know why this just came to my mind, but Pantera for some reason. But that's not my walk-up song, but I just thought about it. If I'm like dancing, just like if it's just like let's have a good time. I love a little Harry Styles. That's probably that's my new thing these days. I love a little Harry Styles, but yeah, I don't know. Walk is actually the song that I'm thinking of right now for some reason. I can't tell you why. Man, you're getting me pretty good on
Yeah.
this one, Aaron.
So
That's
like
good.
you got a keynote at this next big conference. Like, what are you coming out to?
What's yours? Let's see what yours is first.
Well, I'm kind of like you. I have a couple of them, but like a little ACDC, like Thunderstruck is usually like if I'm coming out to an audience, whatever, I'm playing that beginning, so the crowd's kind of boom, boom,
Yeah.
trying to get everybody a little fired up. If it's a fire service thing,
Uh-huh.
if it's a church organization, it's totally different. But for fire service,
Actually, it's so me just because I want everyone to be laughing at or like so my atmosphere because I do How to Hug 101. It's just a fun kind of like let's talk about your feelings, that kind of thing. I probably do Barbie Girl just to like throw
perfect. Yeah.
everybody off. Like no one would know what is happening right now. So I'd
All right.
probably do Barbie Girl just to do it. And I hope if anyone is listening to this and they ever have me come keynote, that's how they bring me out as to Barbie
That's
Girl.
it. That's it. When I see you at a conference, I'm not gonna say hi. I'm just gonna play that like on my phone. Hold it up. Okay. Then
That's funny.
it's me. You're like, oh, I gotta go say hi
Let's
to
go.
this chick. Right? Yeah.
That's funny.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right, I want to know. So obviously, we talk a lot about humor, and I want to know not what's your favorite comedy movie. What's your favorite drama
Ooh,
movie?
drama.
Mm.
Drama.
God. Have I ever told you how bad I am at like recalling things I like? I don't know why. I can tell you things I don't like.
I suffer from the same affliction.
Yeah.
I actually like science fiction. For some reason, my favorite movie of all time for the longest time, and it's actually my favorite movie was Boondock Saints. I don't know why. I just love Boondock Saints. I obviously love all the Marvel things. Fifth Element, I was a huge fan of. I couldn't tell you why. It's such a horrible movie, but I loved it. It was just so good. Actually, like The Departed was definitely like one
Oh,
of my go-tos. I would watch it all the
love
time.
that movie.
Yeah, just a really really good movie. Leonardo DiCaprio has created some of like the most incredible movies I've ever seen, so I definitely appreciate that. So let's just go with The Departed, just because why not?
Yeah. I like it.
How
Yeah.
about okay? So now I gotta get back into comedy though. What's your favorite comedy?
Super Troopers was like I don't know why. Yeah, I love Super Troopers. That is everything. Like comedy wise, that just hits it on every cylinder for me. I think it's
No,
awesome. It's just so good. Yeah.
Your group of guys that you work with kind of remind me of that. What's that Broken Lizard? Isn't that what they call
Uh-huh.
those guys? Like, do you have what's your crew? What do you guys call your crew that you work with? You gotta,
Uh, just the idiots.
yeah.
The crew of idiots. Because we actually still like it's myself, Fenton. We just brought on a new guy, firefighter Lance or fireman Lance, whatever he calls himself. And then our crew from fire department coffee is awesome. We got Natalie and Randy. They're in all the videos, and they do such a good job. We love them, so it's fun.
You got to do an episode called FDI, Fire Department Idiots, instead
Ooh,
of like
yes.
I can
Just
see
us
shirts. I can see shirts coming up.
I like it.
Yeah. All I want is a shirt. I don't want to take a cut.
If we make an
Just
FDI shirt, I will send you one. I promise.
yeah. Just come back again and talk with us. So,
you got any videos in the works you can give us a little sneak peek on?
So we just for like a serious one, we just filmed our Fox commercial for the NHRA. It'll be on Fox. It's we are the official coffee of the NHRA now. I got to film with a guy named Antron Brown. He's a super cool guy, and so we filmed that. I was just in Texas filming that, and then I just filmed a video today. When the guy asked me in the airport, he said, so like people just call you for BS reasons. I was like, yes, I have, but I've also shown up to calls and looked at someone and they were like, I'm not going, I'm fine. And I'm like, oh my God, you need to go. And I filmed that one today. And it was literally his
okay.
wife telling him he needed to go to the hospital, and he's like, "Nah, I don't need to go." And then we saw his foot, and we were like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
you need to go." So I filmed that
Yeah.
one today. So.
Yeah.
Like a compound fracture in 5 places.
It was I couldn't even make it to what really happened because it was so bad. I was like, we were all looking at this dude. There's 5 of us in the room. We're like, Jesus, why are you not in the hospital? And he's like,
Yeah.
it's fine. It'll get better on its own. Like, no, that's not the way this works.
Yeah.
So,
What's the line? Merely a flesh wound.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much.
It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he
And
said.
it's the irony right now is everybody who's, in the fire service that's listening, they're hopefully looking at each other, or they're like thinking about that one call. Cause we've all had that, like,
Oh,
and usually it's like a 70, 80, 90-year-old who just don't fuss over me, but your ankle is over there, and you're here, you need to go. Well, it'll eventually reattach, well, how
Yeah.
did you get here? Well, I crawled here 14 days ago.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Right.
this guy, he was probably in his 40s, maybe early 50s.
Oh yeah.
Like, he wasn't even, and it wasn't like this wasn't like I don't want to go because I can't afford it. I don't want to go because whatever. He's just like, whatever, bro. It's fine. It'll get better. I'm like, no, your heel is missing. All of it.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
It's gone. This does not get better, man. He's like, all right, I'll go. I'm like, geez. So, all types.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. And, thanks for being such a great sport and doing what you do. The whole point of our podcast is just trying to make people better every shift. And, you included some things about attitude and taking care of yourself mentally and physically. Anything else that you want to add into for those people that are maybe searching for ways and passion and motivation to be better? Anything you want to add?
Try new things at all times. That's the best thing I can ever tell people is if you feel yourself getting into a rut, try something new. Like the worst, and nothing, and this has been said a billion times, but nothing good that's coming into your life comes easily. A lot of times there's uncomfortableness. You need to push through something. If you're learning something new, there's going to be a huge learning curve, and it sucks at first, but if you don't pass out in the room trying to teach CPR, you're probably going to get better. Just call your mommy. And she'll make it all better for you. But yeah, listen, the best thing I can ever tell people is don't try to wake up in the morning happy. Try to wake up in the morning content, because no matter how the day goes, whether it's a good day or a bad day, when you wake up the next day, you'll be right back to center again. Try to be content and then flow with the rest of the time.
Janelle, you got any more questions? What do you think? Great advice, huh?
Great advice. And I love that. I feel like we're always finding these patterns that keep coming up in the shows. One being comfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. And take a nap. That's come up in like 3 different shows. Everybody loves naps.
Yeah, right. I think that's maybe what I'll do right after this. It's my birthday,
Let's
for
go.
God's sake. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on. And my mouth is sore from laughing and smiling. I know Janelle's is as well. And for those of you listening, please email us at bettereveryshift@firerescue1.com if you have questions, comments, feedback. Please rate and review the show. Most importantly, learn something, do something, share something to make you and those around you better every shift. Thanks for listening, everybody.